You mentioned you run multiple machines on your farm. I'm guessing manpower is a little bit of an issue. To keep manpower, train them, keep tabs on everything, how important is machine automation or operator assist on your farm?
Well, I think it's a game changer when it comes to running, multiple pieces of equipment. You can have one combine driver, realistically run with experience, run the combine, get it set, and then pass those settings on to the other drivers. Or like you said, you can, if with the automation, it'll fully adjust the combine on its own. You set the parameters. You can have one guy that's helping everybody else set those parameters. It's just quite easy. And the way you go in the combine will adjust itself. And even if you have experienced combine drivers, when you're running 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for 4 to 6 weeks, it's just not possible for a driver to be on top of it. Where the automation from morning heavy dews to tough straw to get through the day where it's hot and dry, back to heavy dews and tough straw at night, combine will adjust itself throughout the day. And we get a year like this year where canola can be $20 a bushel or better, and wheat's over $10, and peas and all this fun stuff. Like saving half a bushel an acre, or a bushel an acre, or even 2 bushels an acre is, that can pay for your combine right there. You're talking 20, 30, 40, $50 an acre of savings. So automation's huge, and for all those factors. So it's something that a lot of people will trade into combine strictly for the automation. So yeah, it's huge.
I agree. We're seeing more and more of it. Our take rate on machines with automation are definitely increasing every year. And the beauty is, especially with the CLAAS systems, typically our CMOS system doesn't add any more sensors or hardware. It's already there on the combine. We're just utilizing the input back from those sensors to control the combine and predict what's coming in the combine, for example, at the feeder house, to make adjustments quicker than anybody else would. Any operator, you're going to adjust in the morning, afternoon, and night, whereas this is continuous, right? So we see huge efficiencies with that.
And I think that CLAAS's automation is a little better. A lot of the other automations is based off what's coming off sensors off the back end, so it's slow to adjust, where your guys is off the front end a lot, and so it's a little more responsive.
Yeah, correct. And we're even taking one step farther. We're not quite there in North America yet, but we're even off adding some of those systems on our tractors as well. For example, if you have some tillage work and you're having too much slip, there'll be CMOS will monitor too much slip and decrease tire pressure to get more traction if needed, and it'll all be automatic on the go. So there's some cool stuff coming out.
Yeah, that'd be super handy, especially for transportation. Like going further, you could bring the pressures up on the road and bring the pressures down in the field, and depending on the conditions of the field, changing the pressures. That's a huge advantage.
Yeah, in addition to the machine monitoring, we do offer remote service for our dealers as well. The landscape has changed a little bit with the farmers typically being larger. Most farms have big shops, so our belief is we're going to have locations, but we will probably never have as many locations as some of the other major manufacturers in Canada. So the way we're going to combat that or offer as good or better service is through remote service, where technicians, they can monitor the sensors from the machine. They can see live what is actually truly happening on the machine, and either if it's a red warning, they'll contact the operator directly and try to prevent what's happening, maybe stop this right now or change it. Or if it's maybe it's a yellow alarm, let's say, okay, we see this is happening, maybe we need to come see you next week on our way out. So it's just basically preventative maintenance as well, and just again to get the most efficiency out as possible out of our machines and provide the best service we can for the operator.
Well, in most cases, you don't know something is wrong until there's a catastrophic failure or whatnot, or even just the point where it's broken. Now you have to go and fix it. So if there's things where people have sensors or telephone calls or anything that's made, or an alarm in the tractor that can go off to let you know that, hey, you need to fix something here, or this bearing is getting really hot or whatever, and could stop potential fires, to just to having your combine broke down for a week instead of a couple hours. So anything like that can keep up time on while you're combining is huge. For the last 10 years, we've had, most of the time it's 1-year-old equipment or like brand new, and sometimes we'll have 2-year-old equipment, but in general, it's been new every year. They come out and they do clinics on our farm. So yeah, we will come and especially for the big guys, that'd be an automatic, I'm sure. I don't really class myself as the big guys, but they come and they do on-farm clinics, usually could be winter or early spring. Usually, if it's seeding with the tractors, it's early spring, and then with the combine, sometimes it's late spring, kind of in between seeding and harvesting, where we'll go through and they'll run through the different, especially with this new technology, how the new automation will work or whatever, and even what RPMs to run at, what's most efficient, just everything. And it's usually half a day, 2/3 of a day, depending on how it goes.
Typically with our operator and end user clinics, we'll start on the tractors. We'll usually do in the spring, usually February, March timeframe, before everybody hits the field, just a refresher on, as a farmer, you have so many systems to learn, whether you go from the tractor monitor to the air seeder to the sprayer to the combine. So there's a lot going on, and you're only in it for a short time. So everybody could use a nice refresher. So we usually do tractors in the spring, usually July, August. We'll start doing the combine clinics, and same thing. We just do usually it's a couple-hour overview of the operation of the machine. But probably the most valuable part of that is just the interaction we get with the farmers and the end users. There's a lot of knowledge typically when we get everybody together, and we learn a lot as well. And you can't put a price on just having that interaction and truly learning what it is the operators need. We always have a belief from the manufacturer side, what they need and want, but until you truly ask the questions, you don't know. So very valuable to always have that human touch, for sure.
I think it's the number one combine out there for speed and versatility and all around conditions, especially in small grains. And like for most of Western Canada, we're not really corn and soybean country. So a lot of these combines are built for corn and soybeans, and they're not built for small grains, especially like canola. And CLAAS is far superior when it comes to the small grain combine, for sure. And so I'm sure it's fast in corn and soybeans. I'm not knocking it there, but when it comes to small grains, it's a combine. So it's great technology, and it's only going to get better, get bigger and bigger in Western Canada.